Let's talk about imposter syndrome. So, this is something that I think a lot of people deal with, especially in the creative space, but also in relationships, in jobs, in the LGBTQ plus community. Huge. I'm sure you're all familiar with imposter syndrome, but basically it's just like feeling like you're not good enough or feeling like you don't have what it takes or you're not really part of the in group, feeling like you're going to be found out. When I worked a 9 to 5 desk job, I felt really unqualified a lot of times for the things that they would ask me to do. And it became a game of like, can I keep faking it long enough to complete this project, meet this deadline, and get on to my next week. And that went on for 5 years and it never really went away. And you kind of keep expecting it to. And I think that's the thing about imposter syndrome. It's really is as cliche as it is, it's a fake it till you make it type thing. You may never feel 100% confident and that you're good enough for whatever it is you're trying to do. And I think that leads a lot of us to never start, to never try. Like, it's taken me a long time to start this, just recording things for YouTube. And there's always an excuse. Like, if I wait until next payday, I can afford to save up and buy, whatever other little piece of equipment that is going to maybe make my content look fractionally better. And so that becomes an excuse for me to, you know, I'll just wait. And then that comes and I take care of that. And I got all this equipment set up and I never actually record anything because there's always another excuse. So that's part of why I started doing this. I bought a few basic things. I bought a microphone so that you can actually hear what I'm saying. But I record the video on my phone. And I could buy a camera. I could obsessively hammer out all the details and make this look better. A big part of that is the actual, like, just the little details of the channel, right? Like, I don't have a cool intro animation, a theme song. I don't have an outro really. And I think all of that is just details. And at some point, you have to just be able to go and start. You have to just start something. Whether you succeed or you fail or you stick with it or you quit, the important thing is that you tried. And that's what I'm doing. But it's not confined to just creative spaces or professional spaces. There's a ton of imposter syndrome in a lot of areas of our life. I've yet to meet the person that doesn't feel that. And some people are better at faking it. But as an example, as a pansexual person, I have a lot of imposter syndrome. I rarely call myself part of the LGBT community because like I said, I'm in a straight passing relationship, and my sexuality has never caused me a lot of hardship in my life. And maybe that's probably just my personal hang up. But I feel like experiencing discrimination and fighting through that is part of the journey. It's part of your bona fides when you talk about being queer. And I don't have that. I've always just been easily accepted for who I am, well, who I present as. And it's never caused me really any strife. And so I have imposter syndrome over that, over whether I belong in that community. And I think a lot of people do. A lot of people wonder if they're gay enough to be part of the LGBT. And to them, I would say yes, your identity is valid and the community is incredibly welcoming and supportive. And we have our own factions and disagreements and all that, just like any diverse community of people. But most people are not going to gatekeep you for not being gay enough. So whether it's that or trans issues, you're not going to be gatekept for not being trans enough or not passing or anything like that. At least by anybody that matters. If people are giving you guff about that kind of stuff, they suck. They suck. Your identity is valid. You are who you are, and you are accepted and loved. Imposter syndrome is just so hard. It's hard to get through because it saps your confidence, and even once you get started, you finally decide to just pick up the ball and run. It's so easy to get sidetracked and just and think of all these things that you could be doing better, or get worried about the stuff that you don't know how to do. And what if I get caught? What if people find out that I'm not really this expert or this guy? And it's so easy to get trapped in that way of thinking. And it's really just a matter of fighting through it and realizing that everybody feels that way. The most successful person you've ever met has some level of imposter syndrome, and they fought through it. They overcame it. It didn't go away. I promise you. Taylor Swift, before every show, whether she's able to just squash it down or not, I'm sure she still has that little voice in her head that says, you don't deserve this. You're not good enough to go up there and play for 150,000 people. Whether that's true or not, it's not really relevant at the end of the day because she does it. Like, if you can just kind of steamroll that voice in your mind, you can accomplish what you want to accomplish. And I'm not saying you're going to be magically successful. I don't expect to get 40 million views on this video just because I, actually sat down and made it. But if I hadn't made it, I would definitely get 0 views. So, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott. Like, you have to try. You have to put yourself out there and just give it a shot. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I would really recommend, if you're feeling beat down, look up the song You Are Such a Loser by Garfunkel and Oates. It's a very funny song. And if you know Garfunkel and Oates, obviously, they're a comedy duo. But the song is basically tried really hard and you failed. And you suck and you're dumb. But you tried. And most people don't do that. And you deserve props for actually, putting up. Like, not enough people just show up. There are tons of local, elected officials in this country that run unopposed for cycle after cycle just because no one shows up to run against them. And if one person did, they'd probably be unseated. But instead, they spend 30 years in office, whatever, treasurer of Stickville, Indiana, or whatever, because no one runs against them. No one shows up. And I'm not going to try to get political in this video. That's not what this one's about. But just illustrating, there's a lot of stuff that you can do. You really can. And you just have to try. And you might fall on your face. You might fail a lot. You might fail repeatedly. But every failure is one step closer to a success. And I think more importantly, as a culture, we're really indoctrinated to look at life in terms of winners and losers and success and failure. And it's such a spectrum. And it's not binary like that. There's no reason why we have to look at things in such black and white terms. One of my my favorite thoughts is that I know marriage is supposed to be forever, you know? Um, but when I look at a marriage that lasted 10 years or 20 years or whatever and was fulfilling and was a solid relationship that ends in divorce, I don't see that as a failure. You're married for 20 years, that's a successful marriage. I think we just put too much pressure on ourselves to be perfect, and we're not going to be. And we set ourselves up for such disappointment when we do that. And there's no reason. All you have to do is just try. If you don't make it, you don't make it. You get up and you try again, or you try something different. And there's no shame in trying something different either. If what you're doing is not working for you, or it's not fulfilling you, it's not making you happy, try to do something else. And I know a lot of this is mired in the capitalistic landscape that we live in, where we spend most of our time working and we don't have a lot of time for extracurricular activities or, human activities like making art or, whatever it is that you do. But you just have to try to carve out, that time. And if you are one of those people that can't, if you're raising 3 kids by yourself and working 80 hours a week, what you are doing, you are totally valid. I don't expect you to start writing a novel or something like that. You're devoting every little bit of energy that you have to taking care of your family. And whatever that looks like for you, that's valid. And I would never try to tell you that you have to have a side gig because you already have several. Okay, so hear me when I say that. The choices that you make for your life are valid, whatever that means for you. You have to make the decisions that work for you. And my only encouragement would be to not let fear of failure or imposter syndrome hold you back from that. You are paying way more attention to yourself than anyone else ever will. You go out in public looking a little shitty, most people aren't going to notice. If it's exceptionally bad, you might get a look or two. But you are the person focused on your gray hairs. You are the person focused on the bags under your eyes. Okay? And I know that that stuff can be a confidence sapper. But if you can change your perspective to remember that you are paying more attention to yourself than anyone else ever will, that can be kind of freeing. It can reduce a little bit of that imposter syndrome. Most people are not trying to catch you in a lie. Most people don't have time or energy to try to parse whether you belong somewhere or not in a community or whatever. So get out there, do what you can, and try to make your life better and make life better for people around you in whatever way that feels right for you. I'm not here to tell you what that is. I'm just here to encourage you to get up and get after it if you can. Take it easy, but take it.